This program is brought to you by the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. We provide the professional expertise, tools, and resources to help you succeed. To connect with a business coach, call 502-625-0123 or email sbdcinfo@uky.edu.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. This evening, we're going to talk about getting ready for construction season with contract bonding. And we're also joined here in conjunction and who is also helping put this on tonight is Alan Cunningham. He's from the Louisville Metro Human Relations Commission. They are also a great partner that we have. We work together a lot on different things. And one of the things we do work on is this series on construction and how to get your business kind of moving forward in the government contracting business. So, Alan, how are you this evening?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Excellent. Before we get started, everybody out there, if you would just look at the bottom of your screen there's a little toolbar that'll pop up. And there you'll see the chat feature. And if you wouldn't mind just trying that out, make sure you can hear us and see us loud and clear. Just tell us your name and where you're watching from, just so we know everything is working correctly. So while everybody kind of jumps in and does that, Alan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Human Relations Commission?
Yeah. So like David said, I'm Alan Cunningham with the Louisville Metro Human Relations Commission. And one of the things that we do is we help promote equity in Louisville Metro and help connect government and communities together. Specifically, what my team does, contract compliance, is we help to promote equitable business with Louisville Metro spend. Louisville Metro has an ordinance to reach a goal of 15% minority-owned business spend with our business expenditures, 5% women-owned expenditures, and 0.5% disabled-owned businesses expenditures. And one of the things that we do to help promote that and to reach that goal is we certify minority, women-owned, disabled-owned businesses. It's a short process. I will put my number and my email in the chat box. So if you all have any questions about that process, please reach out to me. I'll be able to help you out with that. If you know of any businesses that you know is a minority, woman-owned, or disabled-owned business, please be sure to have them reach out to me. The process is 100% free, easy to go. If there's a bunch of different avenues that you can go through that, but in the end, we put you on a public directory to help promote your business and bring in more business to your company. And also to help us recognize your business whenever we go to do bids through Louisville Metro government.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank
That's
you.
Great.
Next, I'd like to introduce Tamara Murray with the U.S. Small Business Administration. She'll be helping us and talking about the Surety Bond Guarantee Program. All right, you ready, Tamara? I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's totally fine.
Thank you.
I answered just about anything. Thank you, Alan. Yes. As long as you're not, calling me some sort of a bad word, I'm pretty much okay. So thank you for that. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Alan, Dave, thank you for having me. Thank you for arranging this. And thank you to all of you for joining in today to learn a little bit more about SBA's bond guarantee program and contract bonding. So we're going to talk about both. So give me just a moment to share my screen with you and we will get started. All right, so let me turn my video off so I save that bandwidth. That way maybe we won't have any glitches along the way. So what I'm hoping to provide for you today is an overview of contract bonds and the advantages for your small business of using SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program, or SBG program for short. I tend to trip over these long titles that we have in the government as well. So rather than repeating Surety Bond Guarantee Program over and over again, you'll hear me call it the SBG program. This information, we hope, will help you understand bonding for government and other contracts. And, there's a lot of talk in the marketplace right now about the bipartisan infrastructure law. There's going to be a lot of money coming through the states, the departments of transportation, the FAA, to rehab a lot of our infrastructure here in this country. So if you want to be able to have access to some of those contracts, many of which will require bonds, you're going to need to prepare for that ahead of time. And that's what we're here to help you do today. After the presentation, I'll be happy to take your questions. So please feel free to use that chat, ask your questions, type them in when you think of them. Even if I answer the question during the course of the presentation, I might be able to expand a little bit and give you some additional details. So please don't hesitate to add your questions to the chat, and I'll be happy to address any of those questions once we wrap the presentation. So the SBG program has been opening doors to bonding for small businesses since 1970. That's more than 50 years of helping small businesses. So let's start off with a brief video overview of the SBG program before we dig a little bit deeper into the details. So if you haven't already done so, turn up your volume.
Small businesses are a critical part of the U.S. economy. And through the SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program, we help small businesses at various stages. Emerging businesses that need contract surety bonds but may be new to bonding, as well as established businesses looking to increase their current bonding limits and capacity. For over 50 years, SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program has been a trusted program creating access, opportunity, and stability for thousands of small businesses needing surety bonds, as in more than $7 billion a year in contract bonds. If you own a small business in construction or service industry and require a contract surety bond, with SBA guaranteed bonds, your working capital requirements are lower and your bond capacity is increased. The result? You compete for larger contracts or build your business as a prime contractor. Who benefits when small businesses get access to surety bonds? We all do. With access to bonds and increased bonding limits, small businesses grow, and that growth has ripple effects, such as hiring employees from local communities and contributing to the national economy. Convenience, not hassle. The program has low barriers to entry. It's easy to use. The entire process is electronic, and you receive fast decisions within hours for smaller contracts and less than 2 days for large dollar contracts. Sound like a program for you? Reach out to your local SBA district office to learn more, or take the first step to apply for the program by connecting with a surety agent authorized to issue SBA guaranteed bonds. Find a surety partner at sba.gov/OSG. Because at SBA, we make small business our business.
All right. Well, in that video, you heard a couple of different terms, and you've probably heard them out there in the marketplace. If you're in construction or service or supply, even manufacturing, you've heard surety bonds. You've heard that term. Well, surety bonds is actually an umbrella term. There are a lot of different types of surety bonds that are available to businesses. License and permit bonds, court bonds, even customs bonds are surety bonds. Contract bonds are also surety bonds, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, because contract bonds are what we guarantee here at SBA to help small businesses. Now, the 4 contract surety bonds are bid, performance, payment, and maintenance bonds. So the bid bond is an assurance to your project owner that you will be able to provide the combination of performance, payment, and maintenance bonds to secure the contract if the project owner awards the contract to you. So when you bid on a project and you supply a bid bond, you've already pre-qualified for the bonds on that contract so that your project owner knows that if they select you as the successful bidder on that contract and award you a contract, you will be able to follow through with the right combination of those other 3 bonds. And the right combination varies. So when it comes to the performance payment and maintenance bonds, different project owners require different combinations of these bonds. The performance bond assures the project owner that you're going to perform the project. You're going to complete the contract in accordance with its terms and conditions. The payment bond assures your project owner that you will pay your labor and material suppliers for their work on the project. You're going to pay your bills on that job. And then the maintenance bond assures your project owner that you will repair any defects in the workmanship or materials installed on the project for a period of time after the job is complete. Usually a year or 2 is what most project owners require from a business to maintain a project if they do require a maintenance bond. Now, it's really, small businesses that are in construction, vertical and horizontal construction, who most often need these contract surety bonds to qualify for government and other types of public contracts. But you may also find bond requirements on contracts for janitorial, mowing, and other services, contracts for supplying materials like doors and hardware, or even manufacturing contracts for materials like road signs and guardrails. As an example of how bond requirements vary, the federal government requires bonds on construction contracts when they're greater than $150,000. But the bond requirements on non-construction contracts varies at the discretion of the contracting officer. So depending on the contract you're looking at, it may or may not have a bond requirement in it. And you're going to find that the same thing is true with other public, government, and private project owners who have their own bond requirements, perhaps even on smaller contract sizes. There are some states that you might be performing work in where the requirement to bond a state project is as low as $50,000. So what does all of that mean for you as a small business? How can you be prepared? Well, it's important for you as a small business owner to be aware of any bond requirements on your projects as early as possible in the bid or the negotiation process, and you have to go looking for them. So when you get a request for proposal or you're looking at a contract and you're looking at a bid, you need to check for yourself and verify whether or not bonds are required on that project so you're in compliance when you submit your bid or your estimate. Why is it important to know as early as possible? Well, if you don't already have bonding in place, or if your current bond limits aren't high enough, which does happen to some small businesses, you're going to need time to apply for bonding or increase your bond limits. And you're going to have a limited amount of time to do that. If you're submitting a bid, a competitive bid, there's going to be a bid deadline by which you have to have your bid, your estimate, and your bid bond together to turn in. When you're awarded a contract, you're going to have probably anywhere from 10 to maybe 30 days, if you're lucky, to provide the performance payment and maintenance bonds that the project owner requires. So you've got time constraints that you have to meet as a business owner. So you want to start that process as early as possible, especially if you're just starting out and need to obtain bonding capacity for the very first time. SBA guarantees each of these contract bonds, and we can guarantee these bonds on all types of contracts and subcontracts, up to $6.5 million and up to $10 million on a direct federal award to a small business. Those limits are per project, so we have lots of capacity to help your small business grow. Now, oftentimes small businesses think that because SBA is a federal agency and this is a federal program that we can only help out with bond guarantees on federal contracts, and that's not true. We can guarantee larger federal contracts than we can others, but we can guarantee any contract or subcontract type up to $6.5 million in size to better help your small business. Now, to obtain bonding, your business will be evaluated in 3 areas, what we call the 3 C's of surety: capacity, capital, and character. Your bond program limits will be based on this review, and you will have a per project bond limit and a total bond program limit. So there's 2 components to bonding capacity that you should be familiar with as a business owner. All right, so let's talk about that underwriting process. It starts with capacity, which is essentially your ability to complete the work. So the surety company is going to look to your company's past experience, the experience of the owners and key personnel in your business, and your business management practices to determine how successful you have been with completing projects. Because it's your experience that determines your per project bond limit. So that first number in the bonding capacity. And that per project bond limit is typically set at about 2 times your largest completed job. So if you've successfully completed a $500,000 project and you qualify in all of the other areas and you approach a surety company to provide bonding, they should be willing to bond about $1 million job for you. Then once you complete a $1 million job, everything else being equal, you should be able to get a $2 million bond. And you continue to grow that single contract bond limit with your surety until you're happy with the sizes of projects that you can bond. Next up comes capital. This is your company's cash flow, profitability, and the quality of your financial statements. It is the working capital from your current balance sheet that typically determines your total bonding limit, that other part, the second part of bonding capacity. So the more working capital, the more income you make, net income over the course of the year, and the more net worth you have in your company, the more bonding capacity you can usually obtain. Then last but certainly not least is character. Character includes the personal credit history of the owners of your business, plus their business reputation. Good character is absolutely necessary to obtain bonding, and it's even more critical when a business needs an SBA bond guarantee, because when a small business comes to SBA for bond guarantees, they're typically challenged in one or maybe even both of the other 2 areas, capacity and capital. So that means that we really rely on the drive, the determination, the wherewithal of our small business owners to ensure that they are going to successfully complete their contracts, regardless of whatever challenges present themselves along the way. So if you're new to the bonding process and you've not established any bonding capacity, you can pre-qualify with a surety company today, so you know your bond limits before you start bidding or negotiating for bonded contracts. And I encourage you to begin that process today. Don't wait until you have a project with a bond requirement that you're interested in. With tight bid deadlines and strong competition, you need to make sure that you're prepared ahead of time for that next bonded project that you're interested in working on. But what if your business is new and you've never completed a project? How are you going to demonstrate to the surety company that you have the capacity, the capability to successfully complete this project that you want to have bonded? What if you have credit issues or very little capital and you've been declined for contract bonding in the past? What if you already have a bond program, but you want higher bond limits and your surety company isn't willing to increase your bond limits, or they're requiring collateral or funds control to support your bond program? Well, that's where the SBG program comes in. We help small businesses facing bonding challenges like these by creating access to contract bonding, increasing bonding capacities for small businesses, and really just eliminating the barriers that sometimes prevent small businesses from competing with larger firms who really don't have any difficulty obtaining the contract bonding that they need. So what SBA's bond guarantee does is it helps to level the playing field for small businesses. And we do that for small businesses by partnering with bond agents and surety companies nationwide. SBA guarantees 80 or 90% of the bond's value against loss to the surety company in case of a default. That means that your surety company only risks 10 to 20% of the contract value instead of 100% because they have SBA's bond guarantee to rely on if there's a contract default. So if the bond guarantee from SBA actually goes to the surety and not to you as the small business, what does that guarantee do for you as a small business owner? If your business is having trouble obtaining bonding, if you need higher bond limits, or if you're posting collateral or paying for funds control to support your bond program, the SBA Surety Bond Guarantee Program could be a good solution for you. We help small businesses qualify for bonding with about half the capital the surety company would normally require. We also count the working capital that small businesses have available in their working capital bank line of credit to help create even more bonding capacity for those small businesses. So while many surety companies require businesses to have at least 10% of the contract value in working capital to be able to provide the bond, sureties who have SBA's 80 or 90% guarantee will often consider half that, 5% in working capital to be sufficient to qualify a small business for a bond approval. That's really what allows SBA's surety partners to give small businesses up to twice as much bonding capacity with the same amount of working capital. The unused portion of a working capital bank line of credit can also increase your bonding capacity. So for example, if you have a $50,000 working capital bank line of credit with $25,000 available for your use, that's an additional $25,000 in working capital through the SBG program that we can use to help increase your bonding capacity. So we will add the available balance on your bank line to the working capital that you have on your balance sheet so that you can qualify for more bonding capacity. And we can go even further than that. If you're a business that doesn't have any working capital on your balance sheet, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are businesses out there that are in that situation. If you've got a bank line, a working capital bank line, SBA will consider that. SBA's partner sureties will consider that as the only working capital that's available to you to help you qualify for bonding capacity. So we do have a lot of small businesses that we work with who are completely reliant on their working capital bank line of credit to support their bonding capacity, to have and show the working capital that they need to be able to qualify for the bonding capacity that they need. So there's a lot of things that we can do here at SBA to help small businesses overcome the barriers that they really run into when it comes to contract bonding. So that's twice as much potential bonding capacity just by virtue of having SBA bond guarantees on all of your projects. And that available bank line counts toward your working capital. These advantages are available only to small businesses in SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program. We can also guarantee bonds for larger projects, even if you only have internal financial statements. This is another challenge that small businesses sometimes face, not having CPA prepared financials that may be required to qualify for bonding. Well, the financial statement requirement for a bond guarantee from SBA is based on the size of the job that you're asking us to guarantee. For example, we accept in-house, your own internal business financial statements for many contracts up to $2 million in size. So if you're performing some smaller sized projects and you haven't gotten into the multi-million-dollar contracts, you may not even need to have a CPA prepared financial statement to qualify for the contract bonding that you need. As a matter of fact, we guarantee over $7 billion a year in contract bonds. And last year, we helped over 1,600 small businesses just like yours obtain the bonds and the bonding capacity that they needed to be successful. So I have a great success story to share with you here in just a moment. This is one of my favorites. Vera Hall is a small business owner in Mississippi who came to SBA for bond assistance a few years ago and learned firsthand how SBA guaranteed bonds can help a small business grow. So let's hear how the SBG program helped Vera in her own words.
We were bidding a security camera contract with a local college or university, may I say. And at the time, I was dealing with another surety, and I'm not going to name them. And so that surety said, what are you going to do? What is your estimate? And I said the estimate of that project is going to be about $650,000. Oh, that's too much. You need to stay in the 250. And so the insurance company that I was dealing with had already started reaching out to SBA. So I said to them, I need to bid on this project. It's a woman on set aside. They have a DBE set aside, and I really need to bid on this because no one else is going to bid on it. And so they reached out to SBA that morning and asked them where were they on the process with my application. And they told them, oh, well, yeah, we can bond that for her, the $650,000. And that's what happened. That morning of the bid opening, I went in with an SBA surety bid bond to bid that project, and I was the only contractor to bid that project and was awarded that project as well. So it has been a blessing, and it has totally helped in my business to grow and to enhance where it needs to be. So that's one of my stories.
I honestly never get tired of hearing Vera's story. The SBG program helped Vera obtain a bond at more than double the limit her surety had set. And she was awarded that contract as the sole bidder. She's now bonding, fast forward about 5 years now, and she's now bonding multi-million-dollar contracts on her own without SBA support. And so Vera used the SBG program exactly how it was intended and created, as a helping hand for small business owners to be able to compete with other businesses who don't have any difficulty obtaining contract bonding, and to help those small businesses grow and increase their bonding capacity until they can qualify for bonding with their surety company without SBA's support. Now, you're probably wondering how long it will take to get a bond or to pre-qualify for bonding capacity if you're looking to do that instead. I can tell you that it's going to take the surety company several days to review your information and either determine your bonding capacity or approve your first bond. Then, once you need a bid, performance, and payment bond, your bond agent will help you apply for SBA's guarantee, and that can take an additional few days. The SBG program approves bond guarantees in about 2 days, and we offer a streamlined quick app that requires less paperwork and allows us to approve a guarantee within about 24 hours on bonds that are $400,000 and smaller. So if you're new to this process and you do have a bond need, you can expect that the process is going to take several days with the surety and then a few more days for the SBA guarantee if you're using our program. So about a week or so. If you're getting pre-qualified, you're only going to go through the first part of that process where you work with a surety company to establish your bonding capacity, and then you start looking for bonded projects. And once you've got that relationship in place, then when you approach your surety company to provide that bond to you, you already know that it fits within your capacity, and they should be able to approve that bond for you and provide you that bond. So depending on which route you go, it's going to take probably several days to about a week or so if you're doing this for the first time. Now, once you have bonding capacity in place, it's simply a matter of presenting a new bond request to your bond agent, and then having that issued within your bonding capacity. So it's super easy once you actually establish your bonding capacity and that relationship with an agent and a surety company. Now, if you'd like to qualify for the SBG program, we do have some eligibility requirements. Your business must be small by SBA's definition. We look at either average annual revenues if you're a construction, service, or supply firm, or average number of employees if you're a manufacturer. You are more than welcome to check whether or not you're a small business by SBA's standards. You can do that on our website at sba.gov/size, but you don't even have to know that. That is one of the first checks that your bond agent will make if you express an interest in SBA's bond guarantee program. So the first thing that your agent will do is make sure that you're eligible for an SBA bond guarantee. Now, in addition to being small, your business and all owners must also be current on public debts, taxes, and repayment agreements. And you must pass that underwriting process that we talked about a little bit earlier, the 3 C's of underwriting with the surety. You must possess good character. We talked about how important that is, and need a bond that you're unable to obtain elsewhere with reasonable terms. Your company must be a US-based for-profit business with legal resident owners. You must be eligible to do business with the federal government and not be involved in a current bankruptcy proceeding. Now, there are some costs associated with bonding and with SBA's guarantee. We don't charge a fee for bid bond guarantees. If you remember back to what a bid bond is, it presents an opportunity to secure a contract. You don't have that job yet, and you're competing against others for that particular project award. So we're not going to charge you for a bid bond guarantee, but once you're awarded a contract and need a performance or payment bond, there is a contractor's fee of 0.6% of the contract amount that you will pay to SBA for the bond guarantee. We also want to make sure that you're aware of the surety's premium, in case you've not done this before. The surety's premium is a separate amount that you will pay to the surety company for providing your bonds. Now, unlike SBA's contractor's fee, which is fixed at 0.6%, the surety's premium varies depending on several factors, including the type of work that you perform and the state where the project is located. I can tell you that surety premiums typically fall between 1% and 3% of the contract value, but you should be sure to find out what your surety premium rate is in each of the states where you perform work. That's important because with your surety premium rate and SBA's contractor's fee, if you're using our program, you can calculate your total bond costs for each of your projects and include it on your bonded projects so you can be reimbursed by the project owner. If you are working on a bonded project, you're bidding on a bonded project, the bond cost is an allowable billable job cost. So you want to make sure that you include it in your bid, in your estimate, so that you can be reimbursed by your project owner and it doesn't come out of your profits on the job. I can tell you that many of SBA's surety partners reduce their normal premium charge to compensate for the 0.6% that SBA charges so that the small businesses that are using our program can remain competitive against other businesses that aren't using SBA's bond guarantee. As a matter of fact, the average total bond cost for small businesses in the SBG program is about 2.25%. You have access to our 3 SBG program area offices should you need assistance and support, and you can contact us if you have any questions. I will also be sharing my contact information with you as we wrap up today, so you'll have that a little more readily available should you need it in the future. You know, it's really our network of surety partners that help us here at SBA give small businesses the opportunity to get the bonding they need to compete for larger contracts or bid on their own instead of as a subcontractor. We don't issue bonds here at SBA, so we rely on our surety partners to underwrite and support small businesses with the bonding capacity that they need to be successful. SBA authorized bond agents have access to more than 40 surety companies, providing bonds to small businesses with SBA's guarantee. And most bond agents represent several SBA surety companies, so they can work with you to find you the best surety company to meet your needs. You can get started today by visiting our website at sba.gov/OSG to find an SBA authorized bond agent in your area. There will be several to choose from when you visit the site and choose your state. So what I recommend is that you select a few and call them, interview them, ask some questions to get to know the agent and the services they provide a little bit better. A professional bond agent goes beyond providing you with a bond and collecting the premium. A good professional bond agent becomes a part of your business's professional team, like your CPA or your banker or your attorney. They are there to ensure that you can ultimately meet the underwriting requirements to obtain contract bonding. They can refer you to a qualified CPA in your area and even create a roadmap to help you get more bonding capacity or let you know what steps you need to take to be able to qualify for your first contract bond. Once you choose your agent, they will ask you to provide them with the information and SBA forms they will need to get started with a surety company. And I do have a great resource that's available to you. I'll pop it into the chat once we enter the Q&A portion of today's event. SuretyLearn.org is a website that is provided by one of our industry partners in the surety industry. And they've got a lot of good information about contract bonding, all the ins and outs. And most importantly, I think they've got a great informational article on how to qualify your surety bond agent. So that resource will provide you with some questions that you can use to interview bond agents to help you ensure that you're finding the best partner for your small business. Because when you work with an agent who participates in the SBG program, you have a chance to grow your business by competing for more contracts. And you can only access SBA's bond guarantee through an authorized bond agent and surety company. So if you want to get started today, visit our website at sba.gov/OSG. I will also type that into the chat here in just a moment, along with my contact information and that Surety Learn resource that I mentioned. But for now, that wraps up the presentation portion of this event for today for me. So what can I do? What can we do here at SBA to help your small business? Please submit your questions through the chat and I'll be happy to answer those questions. Again, if you would rather have a private conversation or, maybe your questions don't come up weeks, months, years from now, hang on to my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you about your challenges related to bonding and how SBA's bond guarantee program can help your small business get the bonding that it needs. So don't hesitate to reach out to me after today, but you've got me here right now today. So feel free to let me know what I can do to help you today. Dave, I will turn it back over to you while I put some information into the chat and you can let me know if we have any questions, if you don't mind. And thank you again for the opportunity. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Tamara. That was awesome. That's a lot. I'm going to give you a second to put that in the chat for everybody before I start firing some questions at you. I think that'd be only fair, not to make you do 2 or 3 things at once.
Well, thank you. I'm a pretty good multitasker, but yeah, sometimes it takes a moment. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so my contact information is there. Let me pop in the website.
Okay.
And then last.
So
Certainly not.
The surety bond, it almost operates somewhat like an SBA loan where, the bank makes the loans, but the SBA guarantees the loan. So instead of calling up you, the SBA, to get the surety bond, you have to go to the underwriter at first, the bonding company first is your first step.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It works very much like SBA's loan programs.
Awesome.
Great comparison. Do we have any questions?
I have a couple. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All typed up?
All done.
So there's a question about, earlier on, you mentioned, the SBA program kind of comes into play when it's hard to find a bond in reasonable terms. And so it looks like that, I guess there's other companies out there, but it looks like you guys are partnered with most of the bonding companies nationwide. So if you get a bad, unreasonable term from one, aren't you, explain how that would work? I mean, how do you determine what's an unreasonable term, and where would you go from there?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. So one of the things I love about that qualification, reasonable terms, is it's really pretty broad, right?
Yeah.
So the small business owner gets to decide what's reasonable and what's unreasonable. So because that is such a broad, kind of an open qualification, that's what allows our surety partners to provide bonding capacity for small businesses who maybe aren't really having a lot of trouble obtaining bonding capacity, but they want more. They want more bonding capacity, and their current surety is maybe not willing to do that. Or we have surety companies that sometimes will require collateral or funds control to support a small business's bond program. And if the small business would prefer and they want to work with an SBA surety, SBA's 80 or 90% guarantee can often eliminate and reduce those requirements. So it's really broad for a reason, so that we can really support and assist as many small businesses as we possibly can. So whatever the small business owner thinks is unreasonable meets that qualification, really, for the most part.
That is very broad.
It is. It's great.
And this is kind of a might be a silly question, but on the fee, so you would bid on the job, and I assume though that you would want to contact your bonding company prior to the bid to make sure that they're on board with the bid process.
Yes, especially if a bid bond is required. If a bid bond is required for that project, then the bond agent is going to need to get that to the small business so they can submit their bid.
Okay.
But yes, it's always communication is super important for maintaining bonding capacity. When a small business is looking at maybe a really large project, that's something they probably want to have a conversation with their agent about before they get too far into it. So yes, it's very important for businesses to keep their bond agents and their surety companies up to date with what's going on with them.
Right. And if you don't win the bid, it doesn't cost you anything.
Correct. Yes. Surety companies typically, SBA doesn't charge a fee for a bid bond guarantee, and surety companies typically don't charge anything for a bid bond guarantee because of what we talked about earlier. There's no guarantee that the small business is going to get that job. So, if a small business is paying a fee for every single bid bond, they're going to be out of business before too long.
That's right. Looks like that's all the questions we have. Alan, do you have any questions or something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I have one question. You may have mentioned it during the presentation, but pretend like I'm a small business wanting to do a bid. At what timeline does the whole surety bond process take? And at what time should I start looking towards the program?
Are you a new business owner? Have you never bonded before?
Yes.
Okay. ASAP. That's what I'll say. So as soon as a small business is looking at a project that requires bonding, if not before, they need to start that process. As I mentioned, the pre-qualification or the first time bonding process can take several days with the surety company, and then another few days with SBA if the small business needs our guarantee. So, the more advance notice that an agent has, the more opportunity they have to find the right fit for that particular small business. Like I said, it's the agent's job to find the correct surety relationship for the small business. And the more time you give them, the easier that's going to be. Then, once you've established your bonding relationship, then it's easy. Then it's a matter of, just calling or faxing or emailing your agent, however they do it, your new bond request. And, within a day or so, you've got your bid bond or your performance or payment bond. I can't stress enough, start as soon as possible. If you want to be able to perform bonded work and you don't already have bonding in place, the sooner you start the process, the better off you'll be.
Thanks.
Thanks for that. I mostly asked that because it's one of the questions I've had in the past from bidders where they've waited way too long to start that process. And by the time the bid due date comes by, they're already too late.
Yes. And we don't want to see small businesses in that situation. We don't want to see a small business lose out on a job. I mean, imagine if Vera Hall, our success story, if she'd waited longer, she would have missed that bid deadline, right? And she was the sole bidder on that project and was awarded that job. That's not something that we want to have happen to other small businesses. So the sooner they can get prepared and pre-qualified, the better.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
That's all the questions from me.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions we have. So, Tamara, this has been awesome. You are just a great speaker and you really know your stuff. It's been super helpful for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And Alan, I guess I'll see you next time. This has been great as always. We'll do it again, right?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Tamara.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll have a few more of these coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So watch your email because we'll send out some notices to you. So thank you so much and have a good evening. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.